You're good. All righty. Go ahead and get this meeting started. It is 6:32. Clayton will be right back with us in just a moment. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. And if everybody will, please go ahead and silence your mobile devices, iPads, and all of the other things that make noise, please. And, Steve, can I get you to lead us in your invocation tonight?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come out and serve our county. God, thank you for each and every one that's represented here tonight. Please guide us in our decisions. Lord, help us to make decisions based on the best for the citizens of the county. Watch over us and take care of us and see us home. Ask this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Clayton, would you go ahead and lead us in the pledge?
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. You all are aware of our conflict of interest reminder. Are there any known conflicts amongst the board at this time?
For several school items on the agenda, and I will once again just point out, me and Commissioner Roberts on his behalf, our both school employees. I don't think there's anything that have a direct conflict.
Thank you for that notice.
That's for the sake of transparency.
I appreciate it. Moving forward, are there any additions or changes to the agenda tonight? Alrighty then, hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So,
All right, Jeff made a motion, Brandon seconded it. All in favor, vote by usual sign. All right, motion carries. Skimming through the minutes for April the 8th, 2024 and April the 30th, 2024. Is everybody good with those, or do you need a few more minutes to review them or table them to the next meeting?
that look good to me. I'm moving, we accept those minutes.
Thank you, Brandon. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Okay, the motion carries. Moving right along, we are now on item number 9. And number 9A is our employee of the month. And so our employee of the month this month for April is David Biddix. I was gonna say, where you at, David?
Thank you.
We are excited to announce that David Biddix is the Mitchell County Employee of the Month for April. As our dedicated communications specialist, David consistently goes above and beyond in his role, ensuring the smooth flow of information to our community. Whether it's early morning or late at night, David can be counted on to promptly post closings, delays, and always keeps our citizens informed and safe. His commitment doesn't end there. David has been a valuable resource for our county manager, offering assistance with tech-related issues whenever called upon, even during evenings. Recently, David's effort is optimizing the Mitchell County website and having greatly improved its performance, resulting in significantly better click time and enhancing user experience. His proactive approach extends to social media, where he has successfully built and maintained the Mitchell County Facebook page, a valuable resource that many citizens rely on for timely updates and information. David's dedication to serving our community extends beyond his official duties. He actively engages with local media outlets to ensure Mitchell County citizens are well informed about important news and events. Thanks to David's tirelessly efforts, our community is better connected and informed, making him a truly deserving recipient of this recognition. Congratulations, David, for your outstanding service.
Thank you.
So he's a diehard Tar Heel fan.
Yes, it's pretty good.
Pretty dang work, yeah.
I guess Glenn is gonna take.
I am, I'm gonna let y'all get first and foremost, but since he's one of my staff, I gotta be nearby.
And he also set up this lovely towel that live streams to our meetings.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3, smile, David. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All righty. I do not believe Miss Betsy gonna be here with us tonight, so for item 9B, Alan, I believe is going to give her report.
Yes, I have the collections report for April 2024. Miss Jessie Presnell passed that on to me. The total amount collected for the month of April was $103,965.46. The collection rate as of April 30th was 96.49%. We are continuing with all collections procedures, wage garnishments, bank attachments, NC debt set off, payment agreements, and pre-foreclosure letters. There are 5 upcoming auctions for the month of May as advertised in the local newspaper. And this concludes the collections activity report for April 2024.
Any questions for Alan? That he may or may not have
Yeah,
been.
and that will go to the tax office for a reply.
Thanks, Alan. She's not sick or anything, is she?
No. she's not.
Okay. All right, next item up, 9C is gonna be our board reports. Commissioner Pittman, number 1, do you have any reports?
Say I met with, the County Commissioner Association Council for the youth and appropriate foster care placements. I think that was the only group I met with. They just, it was a good meeting. We had some representatives from, our healthcare institutions kind of join us and talk about how the ER itself is an inappropriate replacement a lot of times, but there's not another placement. So I feel like there's been a lot of good dialogue going in that group with a lot of different stakeholders across the state. The director of JCPC was there, and they talked about some of the I guess some of the staffing issues they're having at JCPC and how that kind of spills over in the placements there at DSS. So hopefully, there'll be some good recommendations to the General Assembly, for the next session. I believe that was the only one today. When you're done at this past month.
All right, Mr. Harding, do you have any board report to give Betty
I do not, mine will be
next
the
month?
next meeting.
That's what I was thinking, it's every other night. Commissioner Pittman, number 2?
Yeah, we met with, so Mainland Community College, we've got graduation coming up this Saturday, May 11th. There's one graduation starting at 10, the second one is at 1, it's at Bethel, so, you know, it's a big deal for a lot of folks. We've got on May the 14th, Malin has entered into an agreement with, Appalachian State called the Inspire program. It's basically a dynamic pathway towards, for someone to go the 2 years to Malin or, you know, even early college and then have a straight line into Appalachian. And I think it's a very reduced cost as well. So, you know, real excited about getting that on board. So that's the Malin news. Spruce Pine Main Street, we, I don't know, you know, Libby is gone, and so we hired a new director for Spruce Pine Main Street. He's getting his feet underneath him. We just finished up the Fire on the Mountain, it's one of the biggest vendor, turnouts that they've had since having that festival. So it's really exciting for the town of Spruce Pine there.
In good weather.
Yeah, had some really good weather. They've got the Alien Festival, so the Main Street doesn't necessarily sponsor the Alien Festival. It's, I think it's done more individually, but Spruce Pine kind of helps kick into that. So that's coming up here in June. Other than that, that's.
I've been told there are also maybe some Bigfoots walking around the Alien Festival.
There could be, you know, a lot of. It's about that time of year too, so the Sasquatches may want to come up and hang out today. That's, you know, who knows? Hey, if it gets people out and then get some spend their money and have a good time in town, all for it.
Commissioner Roberts, have any of your boards met?
We met with the library board, we have got coming up this Thursday, we got a meeting that's gonna be, dealing with some policies and adoption of that. We're also working toward hiring, a new librarian, that'll be coming up as well, so that's really all that we've discussed.
No, it's the librarian, position, it's a full-time position.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I don't have much on my board report, except for, the animal shelter recently had a cleanup day. And they are offering $10 rabies vaccinations at the Building Community Center this Saturday. So anybody here, or watching the live stream, that is this Saturday from 3 until 12. Our TDA director, Kelly, recently had her baby and it's so cute. So if you've not seen her around the office, that's why, but she's doing a really good job, and I don't know that she's even stopped much after she gave birth to Jet, but she's still been doing a pretty good job. And then an update from the High Country. If there's any projects that any of you guys would also like to see featured in the High Country magazine, those need to get to them relatively quickly by the end of the month. So if you'll give those to me or Alan to give to Victoria so they can be featured. We've got a lot, so we'll sit down and try to compile a list before the next meeting. So I can take those up there to her. And then the only other update for the NCACC was our district meeting. It was up in Avery County. And Dennis and Philip done a really good job of hosting that. They had some really good feedbacks. Seemed to went above and beyond on that. And it was really good just to have everybody from District 14 together. It seems that we're all having issues with workforce housing. That being the biggest one, and second, probably being daycare, that might be the third ones, but that was the two biggest ones.
Most common, yeah.
Through our whole entire district. So Kevin's gonna take that information back to the association and see if there can be, anything can happen with it, so. But that is the end of my board report, so.
One update from, I meant to mention, the Workforce Development Board. So we've got our member appointments, coming up next month, so we'll need to get that on next month's agenda.
Yeah, I got an email from Missy today, and she had the names.
Yeah, so Curtis Taylor, his appointment runs through, June of 25, so he's good, everything's good there. But Scott, Prince, the guy, the HR for, the courts corp, he is gonna be coming off and he doesn't wanna serve, so we need to find somebody else to,
That has to be somebody in industry.
typically, so they want somebody in
Private
industry.
sector.
That was the terminology. Yeah,
So
big thinking on
you
that.
guys, yeah, think on that. If you come up with something, let me know, and we'll get it on the
Are they
agenda.
gonna submit a list of anybody that is qualified? I'm trying to think last year if they had a list of people last time we done the companies.
No, we just
Just anybody.
had a couple nominated on there.
Okay.
It's a tough one to get because it's hard to, you
How
gotta go
often do they meet? No. We needed.
When they have to meet once a year. They've been meeting, 3 times a year. And it's, I mean, you have to go to Boone to meet, so that's what gets people turned off, yeah. So just if you come up with any names, let me know, we'll make sure we get them on in front of everybody.
All right, our next item up for discussion is going to be 11A, which is the Ledger School Road Sidewalk Resolution. And so I'm very excited about this because when I seen, I sit on the transportation board up there in Boone with the High Country, and so I seen this come through, and I wasn't really sure if sidewalks from the high school to PNR would qualify, but we applied and got it, and I'm super excited because I think it's much needed, especially with the middle school going in. It should alleviate a lot of safety issues because I know kids are all the time walking up and down through there to go to PNR. And so I'm gonna go ahead and read this resolution. So the resolution of supporting for provision of new sidewalks along Ledger School Road through carbon reduction program and state contingency fund. Whereas the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of promoting pedestrian safety and accessibility for residents and visitors within our community. And whereas the provision of new sidewalks along Ledger School Road in Bakersfield, North Carolina, will significantly enhance safety, accessibility, by providing a designated pedestrian pathway connecting key, community facilities. And whereas the Mitchell County Middle School and High School, as well as other community resources such as Mitchell County Senior Center, Mitchell County Board of Education, offices, Ledger Fire Department, will benefit from providing pedestrian access and connectivity. And whereas construction of a new sidewalk approximately 5 foot wide and 2,400 feet in length along Ledger School Road will not only facilitate safe passage to educational institutions and community resources, but also encourage physical activity and recreation among residents. And whereas the utilization of the carbon reduction program and state contingency fund for this project aligns with our commitment to health, wellness, sustainability within Mitchell County. And whereas the proposed sidewalk will commence near the PNR stoplight and conclude on the grounds of Mitchell High School, providing a vital link between various community designations. Now therefore, it be resolved that the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners wholeheartedly support the provision of new sidewalks along Ledger School Road through the carbon reduction program and state contingency fund. And be it further resolved that the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners urges all relevant stakeholders to collaborate closely to ensure the successful implementation of this project, prioritizing the safety and well-being of our residents and our visitors. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to all parties, all pertinent parties involved in the planning and execution of the sidewalk project along Ledger School Road. Adopted this day, 6th of May, by the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners. So now that I read that, are there any questions about that resolution?
So is that gonna make the sidewalk currently at the school, gonna go all in the school? This is awesome.
All the way there, all the way down.
Hopefully that will allow for some contingency funding that can go into our map. So that's kind of cool too. That opens our door with DOT.
And so to my knowledge, Clayton, I think it's on the, you're going down Ledger School Road, it's on the right. So going towards high school.
Well done, Commissioner.
So, well, do we have a motion to, for this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Brendan. Second by Clayton. All in favor, vote by usual sign. All right, the motion carries. All right, our next item up for discussion is 11B, the surplus income property and add to gov deals. So I will let county manager or county attorney lead off and then switch.
I'll quickly punt this one to the county attorney. With that said, we're looking at some of these Penland properties, that's a quarter of an acre here and mix and match there. Trying to sell those, and sometimes when we can find someone in the community that's a neighbor, adjoining landowner, or something like that, to purchase those, we like to do that. There's a couple methods to do that. And so on today's item for discussion, I want to just maybe let today's not be a vote, but maybe more so a discussion about two of the ways that that might be liquidated, and let our county attorney chime in on that.
Yes, so there are a couple options the council has for disposing of surplus real estate. One is for a negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bids. That's a process in which we handle that internally through staff, where there's a negotiated offer for the purchase of these properties. Then you advertise it in the newspaper, and any other interested parties can come in and do an upset bid as long as they raise the price by at least 10%, which then requires us to advertise it again in the newspaper with the new price and wait to 10 days for additional upset bids and go through that process until we have a final number that gets to the final price when there are no more upset bids. That still returns back to the commissioners for final approval as to what the final price would be. The other option is this board has previously passed a resolution that authorizes you to list things for an electronic auction on govdeals.com, which is a nationwide website which specializes in government surplus property, where you can place it for sale. It goes for bids. The electronic site handles all of the bids, and then it returns back to this board for final approval as to whether the price is acceptable or not. One of the concerns with these lots is that I understand that they have limited or no right-of-way access, and given the size of the lots, they probably would not hurt for water or sewer to support them separately. So they're probably worth more to the neighbors than anyone else. And if you list it in any event, you would be listing it as is, where is, with no warranties. But it would require a determination by this board that the property is surplus, and then which option you wish to pursue for the sale of these properties. The plus of the negotiated bid is that it lets you speak with the folks coming in to put a bid and make sure they're aware there's limited ability to put water and sewer on these sites. The upside with the electronic auction is you have a greater exposure to a larger audience and potentially get a higher price. However, you may have someone who buys thinking that because it belongs to the government, it must really be something. So there are pros and cons for both of them. And I believe we're at the commissioner's discretion and instruction as to how you wish us to proceed with the sale of these lots.
If we sold them on Gov Deals, could we reach out to the neighbor? I mean, would it be legal to reach out to the neighbors and say, just make them aware that it's up for auction?
Yes, sir. That's perfectly appropriate. You know, I guess the other part of it is the negotiated bid is more work, on staff's side of things, but it also incurs the expense of advertising in the paper, which may be more than your 10% raise depending on the value of those. But you can certainly reach out to folks, who are neighbors and encourage them to bid at this, electronic auction.
It would still have to be the highest bidder, but that would be in the best interest, I guess. Problem, you'd think it'd be in their interest to be the highest bidder.
You guys have any questions?
Guess we also put it on our Facebook page too, and let people know that they can auction, they can purchase it on there.
Yeah. So the next step in that would be to determine which ones are surplus and move forward with the board as a vote at a future meeting on that. But today I just wanted to put it on your radar more so than to require a vote on anything on this item for discussion.
Is there just one property or is it multiple?
There's probably, Lloyd, maybe how many properties you reckon's floating around up there? I'd say 50 or 60.
Owned by the county.
Owned by the county. Think that means 20, 30.
There's hundreds floating around, out there, and the county don't want.
Okay.
So there's thousands.
So there's a lot floating around. The county owns a portion. I'd have to get with the tax assessor to see how many we had at the moment.
Is it possible, Lloyd, that more might come into, more gonna be foreclosed on in the future and more is gonna come to the county's ownership?
If you foreclose, it's very good possibility. Because what's left is a lot here and there, and nobody's gonna bid on it.
Well, there's a lot that's bank owned, I think, that's floating out there, where the bank
The bank
don't want part of it.
They would not give you a quarter of it.
So the owner, the individual don't own it, the bank
Bank don't want.
don't want it. So it's just floating out there and taxes aren't getting paid on it. Something like that anyway, and not a legal mind.
I remember one I foreclosed, a bank. Well, the bank had a lien, didn't own it. And I sent them a check for a surplus groceries, which was, well, this was a large number of bucks on it, surplus groceries, $170. They sent it back to me. Then I approved it. I said, "Well, I did more research on it." It's trying to avoid their contact.
It's like, stay away.
Either a motion or you can declare it tabled by consensus to the next meeting.
Move the table.
Brandon? Is there a second?
Second.
I mean, if all discussions get done, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No, I don't,
think prematurely.
no, you're fine. All in favor? All right, our next item up is our night shift transport proposal. I see Mr. Wade back there. Is there anything you'd like to speak to about this, or are you just here for support? Not to put you on the spot.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward on the options that we put forth the option that we recommend, what we think would be best for the EMS coverage of Mitchell County, so.
So I want, yeah, I'll speak to it a little bit, and yeah, you might as well come up here, Wade, and fan for a second. So there'll probably be a few questions. The initial discussion, and I think Commissioner Harding might have been a part of that initial discussion, was that there's a little bit of an issue, not outside contract, but just an issue that sometimes if there's a transport occurring at night, there's only one EMS vehicle covering the county, and if something was to happen, there's not the ability to quickly get help. So Wade kind of was thinking outside the box and set up a proposal that would allow for maybe a second option if a transport's occurring to be available to our citizens. And it's not, it's not the A+ option, but maybe it's a B option as far as how it's staffed, and so I think that maybe for the sake of the board, if you could maybe just give the options in your opinion, it would be great to maybe help them to give you a move forward, stay back, or ask some good questions.
So it's been a concern for some time now that when we have a transport at night, we only have one truck available. We do have mutual aid with our neighboring counties. If they have a truck available, they'll come. If they don't, they can't come. And they only come under, if it's an emergency response, kind of the agreement that we have with all of our counties. So, according to the contract, we do red, which is a life-threatening situation. We do orange, that's not necessarily life-threatening, but it's more than what yellow and green would be. So we don't do yellow and greens at night, with the exception of discharge to in-county facilities, the Greens Mitchell House. So the concern being only having one truck available at night, we began to look at it and we thought the only two options that we could come up with is the one that you were presented. Option one being us attempting to put a staff member on call for that night, pay them 2 hours to be on call, because doing that every day, we would have to maybe make it available for intermediates or even basics just to come in and man a truck, because we just don't have enough people to do the on-call thing. So if we went with option one, we would have to utilize some non-medics. That being said, there'd be a medic on the truck, so it'd still be an ALS truck. Just trying to put two of them on there, it's hard enough as it is. The second option would be, let's deal with life-threatening stuff. It's the option we prefer. It's a red. The first thing, according to the HCA emissions policies, if it's a red transport, they have to try to fly it first. So if it's a stroke, heart attack, STEMI, trauma, whatever, they try to fly it. They can't fly it, they dispatch us. We have 30 minutes to get there. And, because we have the nighttime QRV supervisor now, when we need a 3-person truck, he immediately goes in to assist that truck. And then I come in to take care of the QRV responsibilities for the rest of the night. So that's the option that we recommend, because that's taking care of life-threatening situations. Of course, we do that with Blue Ridge, whether it's a Mitchell County resident or not. It's a life-threatening situation, so we just do it. I think we prefer option two because a lot of people might say, well, I want folks to sit up at Blue Ridge all night long. I can assure you, if it's an orange transport, we're gonna put the county at risk by only having one ambulance. And then they're gonna sit down at Mission for the rest of the night. Unless it's life threatening, they're not gonna do anything. In the proposal, we did put in there that if we're assured that it's an orange transport and they will have immediate intervention, well, let's get them down there. But the only thing that's gonna make them better is gonna happen right now. Let's get them down there so it will happen, but that is few and far between. So that's basically what we come up with to try to alleviate just having one truck at night. And as you know, Mission trip, it's approximately 3 hours, and then depending upon the wait time at Mission, which seeing how they're under the microscope has magically gotten a lot better. So hopefully it'll stay that way. But so that's it.
Oh.
Can we trust them at face value on those orange transports? If they're gonna take those patients as soon as we get there, or?
Well, usually the ER doctor has we have to trust them that they have spoken and say, yeah, we can take care of that. So, I mean, we make that exception if we see that they're trying to, if we see that they're not following that policy, we can address that with the ER. I don't think they will, but, maybe.
What is your call volume looking like? It's May, so I'm assuming it's starting to creep up.
Started for April, we had a total of 218 calls. I don't know if y'all see this on Facebook that we try to put out there so everybody knows. So, that's actually, April was, I think it was a little bit less than March, but of course now the weather's good, so, rightfully so, here they come. So we do expect that to increase. I will add though, with RTS or Mama Ground, you want to call them RTS, but Mama Ground now, they're keeping a truck at Blue Ridge. And they also keep a truck in Rutherford. So both those trucks take care of McDowell. So that truck could be gone, but our transports has decreased significantly.
They're keeping the staff there, not just the truck.
So far, yeah, the staff is there with the truck.
That's good.
They put their shiniest truck up there. No, it's been there and I have seen it. I think I had the numbers. I got them somewhere in my satchel, but I mean, well over half. That RTS is taken care of, sometimes as much as 60 or 70%. And so our nighttime transports have decreased, but it's still significant enough. We had a orange last night, and so we at 3 o'clock in the morning get them down there so they can finish their wait time down there. That's just the way it works. I mean, honestly.
So I think a clarification question for you at this meeting is, it's of no cost to the county. It's just saying that the contract has a few things that it would be working that looks a little different than the original contract, because you now have different personnel that we were originally contracted for. So therefore he's asking for this proposal, but it's got a good upside in that we got our citizens with another option. So that's kind of what I think he's needing y'all's permission on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And then which option y'all would prefer?
Like I said, I recommend option 2 because that's life-threatening transports. If on option 1, I mean, if we chose that, then we would do our absolute best to adhere to that. But with staffing, can we do that every night of the month? I'm not sure. I think and hope we can, but there's no way I can guarantee that. It would not cost the county this would not cost the county. If anything, option one would cost the company because we're paying someone extra. Just off the top, be over $10,000 a year just to do the on-call thing. Plus they're coming in, doing the transport, and the money, any kind of, money made on the transport just doesn't justify it. I mean, the math don't work out.
What kind of medical emergency would an orange transport be like? What would be an example of that? Kind of help. I mean, I'm just thinking if I was at the hospital waiting on transport, what would that'd be like my finger sticking out of my leg?
No. An orange, would be, if you're within the stroke window, you go to Blue Ridge, you get the TPA. In other words, your problem is fixed. Now you need to go to a specialist, but the emergency is over. That would still be an orange, pulmonary embolism, open fractures, unreduced dislocations, these are oranges, post out of hospital or ED delivery, stable trauma with potential significant injuries, critical but stable medical like sepsis, DKA, that kind of thing. Any type of intact neuro, anything that, I mean, it's like worse than yellow, but it's not life threatening. I mean, our ED is able to do exactly what they're there for. They can fix problems. They get a lot of bad licks sometimes, but they do a good job.
Got any questions for Wade? For Alan? Are you guys comfortable voting on this tonight, or we'll need a motion to either move forward or table?
I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, gives us 2 trucks to assist in the worst case scenario, at no cost.
And I would might add that, the plan, just so you know, the plan, and I think it's on there, that if a red does come out, I come in, pretty much.
Cause you have
And
2 paramedics on the truck.
yeah. And, like I said, like we've been, that would give with the QRV supervisor and myself, that puts the second truck. That's 2 paramedics.
Yeah.
All right, do we hear a motion for Mitchell Medics to move forward with the night shift, transportation proposal option number 2?
So move.
Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Steve, all in favor, vote by usual sign.
Thank you, sir. Thank y'all.
Wait, one other question. Have you guys been going to the fire departments on Monday nights?
I got 3 tonight, every Monday night, except last Monday night. Everybody, we had 30 something at the station, because we've got a new thing now where EpiPens are so expensive, the fire departments cannot afford. $800-900 and so, our medical director, Dave allows us to, even an EMR, emergency medical responder, which is the first step, to be able to draw up, Epi and administer it, but they have to have that training. So we had that last Monday night. But yeah, we're at every Monday night and it's, I've talked to the chiefs, it's working, they're getting to know the guys and.
What did old Ed Silvers teach you guys?
Well, if we have a tractor accident, I'm calling Ed. I don't care what districts it's in. There's not much that man don't know about tractors. But that was some very good training because it can happen.
I've heard a lot of feedback from that one.
Yeah, that was very good. And I've talked to Ed about doing it again because it was on a night. Other people had some things planned. I mean, that is so easily can happen so fast. And, he made up dummies and everything when it shot through there. Scary. We learned a few things we probably didn't need to learn that night too from Ed, but that's just Ed. But,
All right, thanks.
thanks.
Have a good night. All right, guys, our next item up for discussion is 11D. That is our school surplus property resolution. And, the resolution was in your packet, so I'll go ahead and open that up for discussion amongst you all. If you have any questions for county manager or attorney.
Madam Chair, I can begin by stating that by statute, anytime the school system surpluses real estate, whenever they have a proposed bid, the county is entitled to have a right of first refusal to match whatever the terms of that sale would be. The resolution submitted by the school system would be a waiver of that as to the Dayton and Harris school properties. So it would not come to the board if this resolution were adopted. And at this point, I don't believe we know what that number would be or what their plans are as to surplusing those two buildings.
And just as a reminder, we do have a board on board, so school board and county commission board meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. And so if there's any specific questions pertaining to this, that would be the time, I think. You guys would need to ask them those questions.
So I'm saying that if you wanted to do that, or any member here would not want to vote on this tonight, you want to table it.
If you have specific questions, that would be my recommendation.
So,
Do we have a motion to table or proceed forward?
I kind of like to hear what they have to say tomorrow for, I mean, personally, and we can make a motion on this tomorrow, correct? And pass it tomorrow.
And the implication on this in the budget season would be, you know, if the schools were to sell, it's gonna have an impact on what budget need there is
Right.
at the timing of that. So it could be a good option to wait just to get a big picture on what the budgetary need is.
Just in case we learn any surprises tomorrow, I don't anticipate we will, but.
and at our budget meeting, I asked that question, if the properties were sold. So that would go back to capital
Right.
outlay for the school system, not for staff or anything else. It'd have to go capital.
But yes, Brendan, to answer your question, it is an open public meeting, so
So we can move the table and then tomorrow if we saw fit, we can put it back on the agenda.
Yes, yes, and yes, as to.
yes, the only,
Commissioners.
And if we don't feel comfortable making a decision tomorrow, we can table it again.
Yes.
Have it put to our next meeting.
I like that. Y'all good with that?
okay.
Move the table.
Brandon, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff, all in favor, vote by using sign. All right, our next item, I'm gonna let our county manager speak to, but it is item 11F. Award the contract to the lowest qualified bidder for a recreation. You missed it. Oh, sorry. Let me back it up here to item 11E. Mavis, you're keeping me on topic, so. Sorry. We will invite Ms. Mavis up to speak about the Board of Education R&R fund request.
That is the repair and renovation fund. And if you remember last year in June, they came for the first time. And because this is capital money, capital expenditures for repair and renovation to the schools, they have to get your approval to access these funds. But if you remember, a couple of years ago at one of our meetings, they talked about this new fund that was created, and it flows through their capital fund in Raleigh, just like their lottery money runs through. But the first year they got it, I think the state gave them $300,000, and then the next 2 years, it was gonna be $500,000 for each one of those years. But last year, if you remember, it was the first time they came and asked for funds. It was about $183,500. And she submitted of course, all of the paid bills that qualified, and she has to send that in with her request. So this is year 2 of this. Things that she did not include in this that we could ask tomorrow, although this really doesn't have anything to do with exactly their bill projects, but it does bring up a question of what these funds can be used for, although it does say improvement, expansion, repair, renovation, things like that. But what she's done is her expenses this year, she's paid for during the year, and they are requesting to submit this to the state to be able to reimburse for the expenses they have spent this year. So they're asking for $419,183.53, and she included the backups. So their board's already approved it. This board will need to approve it. I'll send it back to her. She'll send it in, and at the end of this month, they'll drop that money into her Raleigh account, and I will send them a check for that. Just like last year.
So there's no cost to us.
No.
Okay, and we're not holding this money out around to the state.
We're not holding this money. This money is held at the state, just like their lottery money is held in the special account for them. And the question that we probably would want to ask them is, this started about the second year of COVID, maybe, if I remember correctly. And I guess a question we might want to ask her, is this money still gonna be available in the future? Or are they gonna continue to get $500,000 a year? Because if they are, I mean, this can really help with capital needs that they have going forward in the other schools, that hopefully the county wouldn't have to pay for.
Considering that, this might be a question outside of the finance, but considering that one-to-one technology is capital, I wonder if this would qualify to cover a portion of one-to-one in the future.
And that's a question we need to ask them to better understand their funding and their different pots of money. I can't answer that, although I kind of feel like maybe not on this particular one. It's just like, some of their funds, and I can't remember which pot it is, will not cover one-to-one technology. And I think it is their lottery money that will not cover that.
Looks like they're using a lot of this for like emergency, based on, I'm gonna assume that was at Bowman.
It was, they sure did.
If they don't use it, does it accrue? Okay.
It doesn't go away.
Okay.
And I guess that's a question we probably could ask is, how much is in that fund? And how much is gonna be available, say, for next year to handle any emergency repairs? Because last year I wrote down, I guess in 22, they got the 300,000. 23, they got the 500,000, and then this year they should have got 500,000. So that's 1.3, and they only spent about 184 last year, and they're spending 400 this year. So they still should have some money in that fund.
A lot of money.
Huh?
A lot of money.
Well, they still should have some money. That's correct. So that might be one that you might want to put, and maybe let them talk about the R&R tomorrow and what their plans are for it next year, because I did ask Beth a little bit about spending it, or if there was a plan, and she said, and I don't remember this, but she said that she gave us a list of capital last year at budget time that they were gonna use this money for, but I don't remember that.
Some of this stuff they wouldn't have known, like.
They wouldn't have known. To me, it seems like emergency
A
repairs.
lot of them, I mean, like, a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, they could have planned, and maybe we could ask them what they are planning on using this money for next year. That might be a question if they know. But if it pleasures you guys, I need you to approve that, so I can get that back to her.
Do you guys have any specific questions for Mavis before we vote on this?
I make a motion we approve.
A second.
Steve, thank you, Clayton, all in favor, vote by usual sign.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
I'll get this back to them.
Okay, now we'll skip back on to item 11F, and I'll wait and let you speak to that.
Yeah, start this off. First off, I want to thank Tyson with Rice being here, Stan Cook being our chief engineer and overseeing this project. Lloyd Hyde being our special projects manager and, I think, kind of like our just guru on everything in general. And then, of course, Brock Duncan, who has kind of had a vision here, and we're seeing this vision come to fruition. So it's an exciting time for all of us, and I want y'all to jump in, but I'm gonna do some basics on this, rec center indoor facility bid time. And we feel really good about this process, but for the record, I wanna go over those who bid it, because this needs to be on here, and then I want to ask this board to accept the lowest qualified bidder, of which we will tell you how that's been vetted out through the county attorney and through our team. So, the bidding log is as follows. Contractor UGIS, IUGIS, had a base bid of $3,267,700. Contractor GEM had a base bid of $3,432,270. Contractor Rise had a base bid of $2,890,874. And finally, Brantley Construction had a base bid of $3,068,000. So these bids also had room for alternates in here, and as we went through all bids with alternates and considered those, Rise was the lowest qualified bidder. So we have to vet those out in this process. And so today, by statute, when we do a project, we are required as a local government entity to go with the lowest qualified bidder. So I'm gonna ask this commission board at some point in this process to approve Rise as the lowest qualified bidder. Does this group here need to chime in and provide any extra information on this part of the process? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I will add, by statute, you do go with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which by the bid documents, is and appears to be Rise Construction. The board always has the opportunity to reject all bids and rebid it if they chose to do so.
Thank you.
You guys have
Is
any?
that a GMP price you guys bid?
Was that,
Is that a GMP price that you guys bid on that?
I wasn't the manager that put the bid together, so I'm
Is
not.
that guaranteed maximum price?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Pittman, it is. Unless you have change orders. But yes, sir.
Yeah, it's per the bid package, construction drawings and specs.
Any questions for these guys?
Got $500,000 left was. Glad to get you on board.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, everybody, I seconded. Taylor, did you get White or Steve?
I will put Lane,
Okay.
but I can hear
All right.
all day.
Okay. All in favor, vote by usual sign?
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
One
motion
que-
carries.
Yeah, one question. When do we start?
No
No pressure.
No later than
Yeah.
July 15th.
Oh, Lord, I thought it'd be next week.
But they, I know they got some staging to do,
Yeah.
but also they got their building, or construction order anytime after this conference. So I got part of them below that building during the time which is starting.
And how long is it gonna take to get the contracts out?
Yeah, Thursday, if,
Thursday's our Sunday.
That's our Sunday.
Yeah, it's looking good for Thursday, so.
okay, we're looking at Thursday, we're moving this thing, we got some motivated folks over there moving this thing on.
And then what happens after this? After this, that black time, how much should it be?
So after they sign the contract, next steps after that, we're gonna have a team meeting. As we look at this project, they're gonna have to, pre-order this prefab meeting, because there's a lot of supplies that got lead times on those. And Then we'll do what they call mobilization, where they're starting to put a construction trailer out here on this site, where they're getting their site secure. Then, I would bet that you can tell us more on that process, but July 15th, we're gonna start seeing some work going on here, probably earlier, but you know, that's what the contract states.
Madam Chair, I believe the contract also states they're to be finished within 1 year, so by July 15th for the following year, you should have a building ready to go inspect.
Oh, sounds good.
If I might make one inquiry, and one suggestion, is this contract will be 6 hours. Well, I think the board has to decide whether or not we're going to accept $30, so.
Yes, sir. Mr. Heiss is correct. You have alternates. I believe you voted to accept the base bid at this point. Your next step will be to consider which alternates you wish to accept or reject related to that.
Does the alternates were included in the base bid? The base bid would be reduced by rejecting these alternates. Except for one, there's some ceiling fans in the gym that would be an addition to the base bid, I believe. The rise bid about $30,000 on those fans.
Yeah, 30,875.
But the
Madam
other,
Chair, do you need a copy of the bid form?
the other alternates
I'll just pass
were
that.
things like the brick veneer, not fully hardwood floor or partial hardwood floor. And the other alternates, if you, the county elected buildings alternates, they would reduce the price, rather than raise the price. This is a very reasonable price, in my opinion, including the alternates, and I think we can afford that. But I think they do need to. Well, if you vote to include all the elements for raise price $30,000, you can go vote to include all the elements except ceiling and the base price.
That alternate 3A, that's for the ceiling fans, that would be added on to the base bid.
3875.
Do you have a recommendation to the board as to which of the alternates they accept or reject?
The recommendation that I have, and we've talked about, is to do the base bid plus alternate 3A for 30,875.
And
And reject the other.
if you do, what's the policy if
Well, with the ceiling fans, the mechanical engineer added that in there. He thought it would be good to just circulate air in the gymnasium, but we are conditioning that. Especially in summertime, during the really hot days, it'd be good to have some airflow other than just the air cooling. So it's a little bit of a bonus add on to the, I think it was 15-ton units on the outside that's gonna be cooling the gymnasium.
We felt like that was a good option that supplemented our cooling for summertime. So,
also heat in wintertime?
this team feels that the add-on of 3A for 3875 is a good add-on.
You don't like the brick veneer?
That's two giants.
That is part of the base bid.
That's part of
Yeah,
the.
they're like 6.
Oh, it's okay, so, okay.
That was the
You
deep
can
cut.
reduce the price if you accept those elements, and you're not getting it. This is kind of different, you know, you get something extra, you're taking away something on every element except 3A. That item and all the other elements is included in that price. If you want to reduce the price, you say we want to use, do the element on the brick, I don't know what it is, the brick goes away.
Yeah, being an open bid, we didn't really know where all these bids were gonna come into place, so we had some alternates like the brick veneer, the lower price if needed. But we all wanted the brick veneer if.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Since the-
We knew
Bad.
about
I want to
what we
talk about-
were spending on this building, and we wanted to have some ability to reduce the price if it came in. About fair
Yeah, we would share about our budget, so that's why we put a lot of these alternates in here in case we got up in the realms of of running out of money, we could cash in on the alternate early on if I knew where.
One of them was the floor, and like, I'm excited to death about the floor, because the floor was gonna stop. And then you was gonna go concrete. Now the floor's gonna go the whole way. So anybody that's been on that, it's gonna be better to have the full floor.
Floor still wood, we still.
Mhm.
Now we talked about
Yes,
that
sir.
all.
You,
Sorry. Do we have a motion to proceed forward with alternate 3A? The, events.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. Congratulations. All right, moving on to item 11G is our budget amendment number 7. All right, yep, that's how it is.
Okay, this budget amendment number 7 for this year is a balanced budget amendment. And it's going to increase our budget by about $800,000. Which bringing our budget up to a number it's never reached before, obviously, about $26 million. And this is due to all the stuff that's going on this year that was totally not planned for. And a lot of it has to do with the additional insurance settlement funds, some ARPA transfer funds, and obviously we are, doing well with our investment interests this year, which is the first time in many years. We're also right now doing a few capital things, so we're not having to carry that over into next year's budget, because obviously we've had a little bit of extra revenue, so we're trying to take care of some of our capital needs in advance and not having to do those next year, because obviously we've got many other projects with law enforcement and the rec center and many other capital projects in Bowman that's gonna be coming up next year. So we need to focus on those projects and not doing our normal maintenance. Although today we found out we've got to replace 2 more HVAC systems, so it's never ending, but we're gonna get all those taken care of, hopefully, and we'll have to do those next year.
That's why that 1 cent was so crucial.
It was crucial, but we're doing well. We're being very, wise and trying to take care of some of our capital needs, so we don't get hit hard with that when we're trying to finish these projects. Any questions?
Any specific questions for latest? Budget amendment number 7. Hearing none, do we have a motion latest to proceed forward with the budget amendment number 7?
So moved.
Thank you, Brandon. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor, vote by Thank you. Wait, you're good? Okay, motion carries. All right. Item 11H is the approval of GMP number 3, annual construction athletic.
All right.
All right.
I'll stand here since I think Alan and I are probably both gonna. And it might take 4, it might take everybody to figure this one out.
Yeah, they've been on many a phone call on this one.
This one makes my
Yeah.
stomach hurt. And 4 can explain that part about it better than I can. But what they did was when, the school got the latest grant, which was 14.5 million, it was going to do their auxiliary gym and some other projects, including some ball field lighting, some fencing, etc. So of course, everybody passed the resolution to allow them to continue with their current contractor, which is great. But what they did was they did a change order and added it to the middle school project, which they called it GMP 3. And I couldn't do that from the standpoint of my office, because those funds very specifically have to be put in separate bank accounts accounted for separately in their fund accounting process. And I could not have them combined. Didn't matter to me what construction people do it. I'm just looking at it from a financial. So that kind of got us all in a tizzy about a week ago when I kind of didn't want to do it that way. I have to keep them separate. However, we do need to approve this A1A or AIA change order because it's enabling Van Noy to start that project. But they are going to bill me separately, and they have already started a new billing system that says athletic facility, I think it's what, totally separate. And they're going to be starting out with this 2,157,896, which is their first hard cost on that. But I understand in the next few days, they're probably gonna have us,
Because they bid out. now.
they bid that out, and
That's the
so
initial GMP, this is gonna be another one coming up.
there'll be another one coming up. So it's a little confusing.
So if you look at it like the middle school, you know, you have GMP 1, GMP 2, which was the final GMP.
That's on the different phases of the construction.
That one site development, now you're going into build. Well, now that they bid out, now they got a number they can hedge up to say, okay, we know our GMP will not exceed this in the build, we'll budget this out, set this money aside and commit to it. So we got 14.5 million in a grant that went to the school for an athletic complex. That 14.5 that was granted via the help of Ralph and Dudley. So that's where this fund's coming out of. This is not intermingling with the middle school grant. It's got a different title and it's a different fund source. In order to move that fund source, county is holding that fund source and the county is trying to work with the schools by holding it to,
So we can get the sales
get
tax
the sales
reimbursement.
tax. There you go.
And plus, I'm doing all the reporting, keeping up with all the interest, balancing all the books. And
Running the
Keep it-
grant clean.
yeah, I'm responsible for the grant. So Van Noy they can run 50 million projects in conjunction on their paperwork. But I've sat down and talked to them and they know that I have to have it separated for my books. And that's part of what we've got to talk about like tomorrow night is, you know, how much do we need to close out the middle school? And this is how much money we have and where's that money? And then we get that closed out. Then we've got to, at the same time, start looking at this project. And then there's a third project, which Van Noy is also going to do, which they also tried to do a change order on and add to the middle school. And we had to pull that one off because that's gonna be the widening of the road. So these are all things we need to talk about tomorrow night with them. So they have made another project and they know that that particular project needs to go to the Board of Education because they're going to need to run that project in order to get reimbursed from the state DOT. We can't run that project. So I think we've got the construction company clear.
I make a motion.
Sorry, I was letting Mavis finish.
No problem.
So the, on this invoice where it says change order number 3, change orders 1 and 2, what were they?
That was on the middle school.
Huh?
That was the middle school.
I'm curious as to why they're kind of piggybacking on inspection. Why are they doing change orders for the middle school project like?
Ford can answer that.
I think that's my question to answer.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
from a competitive bidding standpoint, the way finances are accounted for and the way the construction is done are completely different languages. So without the Rosetta Stone to make everything match, you've got two different approaches for how you're approaching things. From the finance side, think of it as different buckets of money. And each bucket of money has to be accounted for within its own bucket.
You can't be commingled or I go to jail.
Cannot be commingled. So
I don't want to go to jail.
so on one side, there's the financial approach. On the contracting side, we have
It's a
a
continuation.
site and we have a contractor and an architect. And in order to continue to use the contractor and the architect and it being the same site, this is just a continuation of the overarching big picture. So at the end of the day, we will have a brand new middle school with an athletic complex that are all considered all part of one site. So from the contracting side of things, it's all one continuous project. But if you look under the hood, you're gonna see there are a number of different buckets from the financial side, because
There are different funding
Right.
sources.
the other approach is we would have several different contractors potentially all trying to do their little part of the project and all getting in each other's way and making each other mad. So this is a way to make it one continuous project and get everything finished on time.
So Benoit knows we write their checks, we don't care what one.
No, he had to just.
But they have to account for it depending on what they're doing so that we can get it into the right financial budget.
Right,
For you have the big problem of you've got a number of different grants all on the same project, that are all having to be juggled. And you have to land them all in the right buckets.
That's probably an annual plan, but
It's, I think it's more of a headache for Mavis to make sure that, everything lands where it's supposed to land.
And we changed the wording. Yeah, we voted on something a month ago, or a couple of months ago, that allowed this to happen.
yes,
Because it was all
Yes.
getting like
Yeah.
this.
Yes,
Well-
we allowed the architect to continue with a waiver of the RFQ process.
To let them know these.
So that let the architect continue and that lets, this change order will let them know.
I didn't.
so Benoit knows that, they know that athletic complex was added, but they don't know, they didn't understand that it was added under a totally separate grant. And so that's
All they care about is getting their paid, so they're sending invoices, now, but Mavis has got them on the right page that this goes to this project, this goes to this project, and they'll, should be good to go from here on out.
But it's just a guaranteed box price.
no, that's just their GMP, that's their first
Phase
GMP
one. Site.
yeah, we don't have their big one, the gym yet.
And so we don't know what it'll cost for that, but
I know on their scope of work, they put on their scope of work that the gym facility would actually be about 9 million and some change.
they got a $14 grant.
And the other money goes to fencing, lighting, turf,
Oh, it's
baseball,
awesome.
softball fields, they wrote a scope of work, which they have
So
to.
Mavis, another thing to clarify this commission board, they've got an older GMP that we changed with the, names of the two still on it.
Mhm.
Speak to that. We met with Vinoy and Vinoy had to change that document and update the numbers on that document. So it'd probably be good to send this board out that updated one, just to,
Is it gonna foul anything up if we table this until?
Their A1A is not
well, but
changed.
it has what they've got on theirs. It might be, is the middle
What
school
you're
and
thinking
athletic
about is the
complex.
billing. Their billing separates it, but their
Okay,
this
so
does
that's
not.
still holding the same name up there?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Because to them, this is their order to continue to do the work,
Okay,
even though they're bleeding over into the second project now.
okay, gotcha.
But they separated their billing, and I have three
Yeah.
different names.
I got you. I was getting confused with another one on our
I'm
billing.
telling you, it's very
It's
confusing.
complicated.
Let me ask you a question. This is grant money.
It's gotta be this.
What happens if this project is gonna go to the grant money, 4.5 million?
Well, that's the conversation you need to have with them tomorrow, when we're talking about each one of these projects individually, is to hear their plan for that.
Are we responsible for it?
That's a 4 question. I
We're
don't,
responsible for facilities. So the question is, to what extent are we responsible for facilities? If it starts to go over budget, then you would be looking at doing potentially change orders to reduce the scope of the athletic complex. So if it looks like this starts to go over budget,
That
That
could
would
be
be-
fencing, that could be lighting, that could be the turf,
That's-
whichever is least important.
right, that's your way to bring it back, because we do have a responsibility for facilities. The question is, to what extent you provide those.
Well, that's my question, this is athletic facility, not instructional facility.
Yes, sir.
So does that statute
So if you.
Under one umbrella?
So if you choose to provide a responsibility, it's out of your bucket, but there are no minimum standards that you have to adhere to for athletic facilities. If that makes sense.
It does.
So you can have an open field that's a rough graded field in theory, with no lights, no dugouts, anything like that.
And I think that's why we're waiting and anxious to see what their total number is on the actual building. And then we can see how close their scope of work comes into that, because they have to adhere to that scope of work for that grant. To change that, we would have to ask for a grant revision on that. They would, on their scope of work. They wrote the scope of work, we did not. So there's the numbers.
Everything that you mentioned.
Mhm. And the other thing is, and this is something you need to think about, is could come and ask us if they go over a little bit for money from, say, their capital sales tax that they may or may not have with us. I mean, we may be holding some capital sales tax. The other thing is they could possibly use some of their lottery money, some of their R&R money.
Okay, they have their sales tax money and their lottery money's tied up in the new school. Until the debt is paid off, correct?
Until we get finished with the middle school. Once we finish with that middle school and we pay the final bills on that, if there's any money left, that would release that sales tax. In other words, the capital sales tax, the 3.1 million that we restricted. Once the school is done, paid for, and we're close that out, if there's any money left, say there's $1 million left, then they could come back and ask you to reallocate that million to something else.
But we don't have to use it.
No, it's your choice, but, I mean, that's
Well,
in
I'm just
theory,
asking.
I mean, that's in theory how that works.
Yeah,
It's
but
your
looking down the
choice.
road, if your bucket's dry
Right,
and you've got a major unexpected expense, there's
Right.
no money to pay.
right, exactly. That's why
Out of
I
that
think
pot of money, so.
we
we're
need to
responsible, so we
understand
got
those
to-
different pots and what they can be used for and what their plans are for them. It's hard to make a plan when you don't know what their plan is. So that's what I think we need to try to pinpoint tomorrow night is what is their long-term plan? How are they planning to do this?
For approving this GMP, we don't know what the cost of the project is.
All we're doing is improving the first GMP, which is 2.1 million. We know in that scope of work, they've got a little over 9 million. So I'm okay. I think
Yeah, we feel on the same.
Alan
page.
and I
This
sat
is
down
a-
with Mr. Winchester and we
Yeah.
talked about all of this.
Yeah,
And he's supposed to let us know once they get ready to award, and he knows how much money was in the scope of work in that grant for that project, and he seemed to think
yeah,
it was good.
yeah, he's looking at, he's reeling in numbers and.
He knows, we were honest with him about both projects and how much money has been allocated.
Yeah, he kind of sees what he has as the budget really to work with on that. He feels like he's gonna come in on those budget numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies. And maybe this is another time. I don't want to get everybody too confused, because I'll confuse myself even worse. At one point, recently, the school system asked for 2.5 million. Because they thought they were under budget on a new school to go to the athletic complex. Is that correct? And-
What they wanted to do was, yes, they wanted to roll over any savings to the other project.
But we can't.
No, and that's where we had to kind of put the wheels on stop. And we had that discussion with
So
Benoit.
let's say there are savings.
Again,
Then you have to rewrite.
if there's savings, when I pay the last bill on the middle school, I'm positive that the 40 million is gonna be gone, okay? And we're gonna be into the 3.1 million, because that's what's left.
Mhm.
Okay, so if there's some savings, it's gonna be in that capital sales tax
Okay,
restricted amount. So let's say we use 2 of it and there's $1 million left, then that would be unrestricted at that point, once we pay everything off and we close that project, then that money would still be sitting there to be used however you
And if
saw
we
fit.
gave them the full amount of money, they have no pennies in the cookie.
Right, right. See, we projected to do 3.1 million. When this was projected out, I didn't know, and they didn't know that the school was gonna open in August, or if they did, they didn't tell us, but my concern was, are we gonna have 3.1 million by August? And I think we will. We're at, what did I say, Alan, the other day? A little bit under 3 million. We're at like 2.9 something. But see, we're opening the school a whole year earlier.
Yeah, which is
Let's cause the interest accruing.
Yeah.
Out of.
Right,
so don't have as much money in the.
right.
Part of working these numbers is going to be to use the most restricted funds first for those projects, and then have the other funds. And to Mavis's point, with the accelerated time frame, you have less time for sales tax and other funds to accrue.
True, right.
So you've got a moving target both on your revenue side and on your expense side. And you don't want the expenses to get ahead of the revenues because you're building so quick. And that's part of landing this and making sure that you spend the right funds first.
Okay, now, and understanding that they don't have the money to do the road widening was my understanding at the budget meeting. So we're going to front them or give them.
We've not had a request for that money. In my opinion, as far as speaking from the finance office, we have to have a request for that. I can't, I need them, if they don't have the money and they
That's
need
what
the
they
money.
applied last week, because it was asked point blank, do you the money for the road widening? And they.
So then that's a discussion again that we need to have tomorrow night with them when we get to that project. But they need to make a formal request for that money, and then you as a board need to decide how we're going to fund that money.
As to the roads widening, my understanding is DOT has a program where they will reimburse school systems for construction costs related to road improvements at schools, which is a very specific factor. And they will reimburse the school system for its expense. The problem or the question may be, the school system does not have $750,000 in unrestricted funds. How do we get that money to them in such a manner that they agree to reimburse us when they are reimbursed?
And we don't get that reimbursement that they get back from the state.
Not directly, they get the reimbursement. So you may be asked to make a short-term loan to the school system with the agreement the school system repays you back. So you might be acting as the bank for the school system to float them that money. But we've not been asked for that yet, so it's premature to speculate.
Which is a lot of hypotheticals I'm trying to figure out.
That's what, and that's how why we need to try to make sure that their board and you are on point as far as, it's kind of hard to read their minds if we don't know where they're at.
We could contractually obligate them to repay that reimbursement. once they
Yes,
got
but
it.
essentially you would be making a loan to the school system that they would repay to you.
My concern is what happens if they don't jump through all the hoops to get the money back.
They owe you the money. My commission on
Because Alan and I looked at that pretty in depth and we thought we could do it. And there's some pretty specifics. You get the money back if you do this, and this. Okay.
If DOT does not pay them back, that leaves both the school system and us by extension in a very bad spot. You can make it not conditioned on the road being, reimbursed to us, but if they're in a bad spot because they're out $750,000, then you're their funding source of last resort.
Okay, let's process all that. Mavis? You got anything else?
I don't
to tell us?
know.
Can we move on?
Is there a question about tabling this GMP till tomorrow? Since
Is
we
it
got
gonna
more-
foul anything up if it was tabled?
Whatever y'all think.
Like, is it gonna?
No, I mean, I would just, no, I know Tanner's waiting on this one because I will say, yeah, I really probably need, I would like for you to approve this one because I already have the first invoice on this project
That you need.
of $211,000 that I know he's waiting on money for, they're waiting on money for. So, and I kind of put a nix in it till we got this done because,
When did we receive this invoice?
huh?
When did we receive this invoice? Couple weeks ago.
Last week after we talked, after
Been about 2 weeks ago.
we spent a week trying to get everybody on the same page to understand how we had to have it divided up. And then I think he got it to me, what, last Tuesday or
Thereabouts, yeah.
somewhere, he separated that out, but he had originally put it on invoice number 16, which is part of the middle school. And so then we had to go back and get that all redone, and he had to actually revise that and make it 16R, because it's got a revision. He had to go back and pull that out of there. Then he had to get his accounting people to set up another and re-invoice. So they've been waiting a while, and in fact, I didn't even get their 16R paid until yesterday because I had to wait for the money to drop from the lottery, so,
All right, do we have a motion to move forward? or vote? Okay.
So, and the motion to approve or
Yes.
table, okay.
Approve.
Just clarification.
Thank you.
All in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. All right, our next item for discussion is 11I, which is the approval to close bank account for the Register of Deeds.
okay, we're trying to clean up now that we have so many bank accounts. We have a couple, I have one, this one at UCB, and I have one at Capital Management. I'm gonna work on possibly closing it too, but for right now, this was an account that was open for the Register of Deeds back in the many years ago when they started something called the AEMP Fund, I think was the name of it. And it basically said you had to put back so much money every month, and you had to hold that money, and you had to spend it on computer and automation, blah, blah, blah. This was many, many years ago, probably 20. So we started out doing that, calculating it and sticking some money in there, and then you had to prove that you spent that on updating their computers or their software or their automated systems in some way. So about that time, we changed from software, we had Parker Lowe, and we changed and went with BIS. And what they did was they did a whole package, and they did the software and the computers, and they update them and upgrade them, and then we pay them one price per year to do that, which is greatly more than the 10% that we were getting off of the fees that we were getting from Register of Deeds. So rather than to put the money in this account and then turn around, take it back out to pay that bill, I just pay that bill every year out of our general account. And I really don't need a separate bank account for that anymore because we're accounting for that in our accounting system. So that it's been sitting there with $300 in it now for several years, and I don't see any reason why we can't close it. And if you're wondering why I come to you, if you don't know, every time I open or close a bank account, I have to tell you, and you have to approve it, right, Forrest?
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you.
I tried to do it right.
I moved to the close account. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. We're moving forward to our consent agenda. And is there any items that people have questions about before we vote on it?
Madam Chair, I would note on the tax deferments, since those are late, that does require the board to make a finding of good cause as to why those are late, if you wish to grant.
Do we have a motion?
A motion to approve the consent. Do I need to say anything else?
It needs to be specifically in reference to item A if you, think that the, is it A?
C.
C, sorry, the, late application. If you warranted, what did you say, how did you word that?
I'd say, be a motion to approve the consent agenda with the finding of, good cause for the late application.
Why was it late?
He was in the hospital.
A motion to approve the consent agenda with good
Good cause.
on item C.
Okay.
That's confusing. Struggle to get that up.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, vote by usual sign. Mavis, have you got anything else? Up and down, up and down.
I'm just gonna briefly, I put the financial report in your box, and I will say, we've got a couple more months to go, but we're in, good situation as far as, expenses to revenues. Expenses are running about 76%, with revenues running about 92%. One more thing, I'm gonna just hand out briefly so you can have this for next week. I made the changes that you requested. If I fall off of this, it's gonna be very bad.
Okay, she knew you.
I made the,
I'll pass it around.
I made the changes from the budget workshop. And this is just the summary, and the changes are in red, and there was just a couple, and then I did you another balanced budget worksheet. Just so you'll have it to kind of glance at it before next week.
Sent you a little email or something too, maybe want to throw on there, so.
You
get a
did?
chance, just to,
What
so,
did you do?
about 10 minutes ago.
I started saying,
It's just sitting here, so I think we ought to think about getting that baler included in there for the aluminum.
the aluminum baler,
What were you thinking? It was like 20-some thousand?
25 maybe, what I remember.
That is something we've got.
I know we.
We didn't forget it, it's just, I just didn't know if we could afford it. Yeah, I can afford it.
We'll
Okay.
figure it out. I know you're good. We'll figure it
Sounds
out.
like there's some software, some cost savings associated.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Well,
Definitely, it's just, we've had so many issues out there. I will say the cameras are up and working. And
this week. They're last week.
they're up and working, and we've got the security and all that back up and working. So, okay, I will try to reach out, can't remember that guy's name, I'll reach out to him, see if he can come get us a price, and what I may have to do is just throw a number in there until we get,
That's fine.
he'll have to come back out and look at the remodel and,
If you put 30 in there, I'm sure that would cover it.
we cover it more, and I'm sure the guys would probably love it, so, great, okay. And actually, to be honest with you, we did get some revenue from insurance on the truck that burned, and we have not replaced that truck. We put that on hold to see if we can manage without it. And the other thing that we do need to put on our list, and Alan and I have been so busy, we've not talked about it, and that's getting rid of that front end loader. We could raise some money there,
Yep.
probably enough to buy that fella.
Yeah, we could. I would say that probably come chiming out.
So we need to work on that. That might be a go stop, whatever deal. It's raining. So those are things we'll work on, but thanks, Steve, for reminding us of that.
Just let me ask you a question before you step down. For tomorrow's meeting, could you give me all the revenues that go into Board of Education? And break that down, Article 44, money capital outlay, general fund, timber sales. all the
Fines and
little pots.
forfeitures.
Yeah, all the little pots of money, and obviously the grand.
And you have to realize,
About
forest
2
timber
million.
receipts are about 25,000 a year, and fines and forfeitures range, they were getting up there pretty good, and then COVID hit and the courts kind of slowed down. That's starting to come back up again, but it'll run anywhere from like, I don't know, 70. I'll get what it was last year and where they're at this year on fines and forfeitures, because it's all over the place.
I'm trying to get a grand total of money that goes into education, because I was looking at it. Spreadsheet, and it was 4.1 had some change doing the math in my head.
Okay, but the thing about it is, you know, we're holding that capital sales tax, we're not sending that to them, so you're seeing that in there probably too. But,
Well, it was listed, I think, as capital outlay.
okay, it was, and that includes the 272,000 one-to-one technology. Okay, the capital outlay, because that's in their capital outlay pot of money.
And can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
How's technology considered part of capital outlay with building and grounds?
It is.
It's just how it is. Well, no, I don't know who.
Now, we're not spending their capital money for it, but it is considered a capital because there's,
Giving them the money.
we're giving them the money, it's coming from general tax. It's not coming from any special pot of money, it's just general tax. But it is considered a capital because what they have is a lease, a 4-year lease, and they're making payments on that every year. I consider it capital. They may or may not, but I think it is considered not building capital, but capital like computers.
Technology and furnishings are lumped together,
Yeah.
and they are,
Really?
yes, sir, they're part of, infrastructure.
And anything over $5,000, we consider a capital thing as far as audit goes. So, boy, that's a fast one.
Yes,
Any other questions?
not at this time, I don't.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, county
All
manager.
right, I'm gonna go quick. What we're gonna be talking about maybe at the first meeting in June is a dangerous dog ordinance amendment. So we got a dangerous dog ordinance. The sheriff for myself has seen a need for updating on that due to, we've had a lot of like 30 or 40 dogs here that's been getting, we've, as the county, we've been having to step in because those dogs have been undergoing treatment that we don't feel is good. And so we're trying to tighten that ordinance up and things and also protect folks, livestock, children, things such as that. So we're gonna be working on that. I'm gonna be sending this board out a draft ordinance and I'm gonna allow for this to come through on the first June meeting, and we'll do a public hearing just to gather public input on that dangerous dog ordinance amendment and put that out on our website. But it's basically, if you wanna jump in there and just maybe speak to it just a little bit to educate this board. I've not sent it out to y'all yet.
Yes, sir. We currently, as many of you know, have a dangerous dog ordinance that says that if there is a dog that has either attacked livestock or bitten someone, that dog can be deemed a dangerous dog, which requires it to be either kept on a leash, kept inside a home, or kept inside a enclosed fence area. We've had some problems with dogs that have attacked livestock and chickens and of a larger breed, and they belong to a pack of as many as 30 dogs. So part of the concern that the sheriff's office has had is that how do you identify and determine which is the offending dog or dogs? And then also the concern that a pack of dangerous dogs in large numbers could become very dangerous to life or safety if they were to decide to turn on someone. So what has been drafted and is proposed for your consideration is to address the control of dogs that are considered to potentially be an inherently dangerous dog breed. And the ordinance lists a number of different breeds of dogs and also includes those that are wolf hybrids as regulated dogs, and would limit those dogs for several items. First, that those dogs have to be confined or maintained within a secure area on the owner's property. And the other would be to limit the maximum number of those type of dogs that an individual can have on their property at one time. The draft of the proposed ordinance would be no more than 4 inherently dangerous dogs of that breed. And it also allows that we only deal with dogs over the age of 4 months. So if a dog has a litter of puppies, we're not gonna separate the puppies from the mother. We're gonna allow that to be for that limit. So it tries to strike the balance of letting folks make sure they keep their favorite dog, their second favorite dog, and their third favorite dog, and their fourth favorite dog of these breeds, but maybe not their 25th favorite dog of these breeds. It also only addresses or limits these specific breeds to those numbers. So if someone wants to have a herd of 50 Dachshunds, we're not regulating Dachshunds or Chihuahuas or Collies or anything like that. It's only specific breeds that, there's actually a historic, North Carolina appellate decisions on that state that regulations related to these specific breeds can be found to be inherently dangerous and subject to greater scrutiny.
Is it based on like serious injuries from, attacks, kind of like, I think the CDC publishes a list of 10
Yes.
dangerous dog breeds?
Yes, so this list comes from a number of different sources, one of which is from the appellate decision of the Court of Appeals, talking about the regulation of certain types of dogs as just having inherently dangerous tendencies. The case law on this has evolved from every dog gets one free bite, and that you have to have notice that your dog may be dangerous, to a recognition that some breeds are more inherently dangerous than others.
So like if my 10-year-old got attacked, mauled, only after that fact would that owner have to put that dog up?
Under the current ordinance, that's correct.
Whereas we live in a kind of subdivision, so that dog could run around terrorizing the neighborhood until it bit somebody.
Under the current ordinance, yes, and depending upon the breed, this would restrict how that dog is controlled and maintained. And if the board is willing to do so, it's not required that you have a public hearing on an ordinance of this nature. But if you would call for a public hearing by motion at your next meeting, then we could receive input from the public on this proposed ordinance and potential changes. So we're trying to strike the balance between the life safety issues, but also be mindful that there are those who like their certain breed of dogs without there being a dangerous pack that could attack and potentially harm other humans, children, or livestock.
So, yes, I'm sending that actually to you right now, so you'll get that to look at, and we'll discuss and get into this.
We currently have an animal control officer, and we did a while back.
I think my understanding is that we have a person that has animal control duties, and they assist our Mitchell County Animal Rescue staff when it comes to taking over animals that are.
Task of the
It's a task of a deputy, yeah.
But it's not.
It's not a designated
It's
animal control
not,
officer.
it's not designated.
At one time, there was a member of the staff of the animal rescue, that was designated animal control officer. I don't think that anybody wants to do it.
That's what I understand from the animal rescue folks. And, there is discussion in the future when we do a 2-county animal rescue that it would go back under them and the counties might share that expense for one to cover both counties. But that's maybe a year out earliest, possibly. Moving on with my county manager report.
Sir, please, the board, would you be willing to consider a motion to call for a public hearing on this ordinance?
I'm first, I see the one first.
Okay,
Yeah, I would like to.
I want to send in the ordinance first, I think, and
We can add it tomorrow. if we need to.
I'll be sending that to you in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Special thanks to Commissioner Brandon Pittman. He hooked us up with some leads for Via Furniture for DSS. And in fact, that lead's also gonna pan over to law enforcement center and has the potential. We're gonna ride down Friday. I'm gonna have maintenance and several strong back with me and maybe get a load of furniture. on this Friday, but that has the potential to provide for, the law enforcement center. And if what I see looks correct, that could save the county nearly, I'll say a low end 50,000, maybe up to 100,000, depending on what they got up there, because there's some very nice furniture. I was looking at some of those desks and, they're very comparable to, say, a $1,500 desk or used in $800 desk. So depending, I know when I need a dozen nice desks or more, maybe 20 for this law enforcement. If I got that out of that, I would be very happy.
And I appreciate our DSS folks, they were down and checked it out. And, kind of vetted it out. I just put them on the trail.
So, yeah, that's a really good lead. Project updates, you know, we talked about rec center, that's moving forward. I said, I had on my notes, July 15th is kind of a no later than go date. Law enforcement center sheetrock's going up in about 2 weeks. You'll start seeing those walls really take shape. I've had a few folks come out there and walk with me. Commissioner Masters has came out there, a couple of the deputies. I brought Donald out there as well. He's getting excited when he sees any of y'all, you know, 2 at a time or something. Whenever you get ready, whenever you're up, we'll get you a hard hat, take you out there and let you take a look at it. Mitchell Middle School project is progressing on schedule from what I'm hearing from Dean Benoit. You know, they're still saying that they're gonna be ready by August, so, when I go to those construction meetings, they're feeling good about it. You know, we're gonna be talking about that and reeling those numbers in at our budget board on board meeting tomorrow with school. We just wanna know what those exact closeout numbers are gonna be, so we're wanting to say, you know, here's funds available, here's funds needed, so we're working towards that to get this thing closed out and completed off the books, grant check boxes done. And I'll conclude with that on my county manager report
I
tonight.
just have one quick question for you. Have you heard from DOT on when they're gonna start that Hayville intersection project?
No, but I do need, they had told us spring and we're in the late spring now, so I will take an email and check that out.
What they said the other night was mid-June now with the,
That
with the budget meeting. I thought that's what they said. It was 6 weeks from. I think like, that's pretty much, if you start mid-June, it'll take you right up to August to get that done.
For the review?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the school.
Oh, no, the
Why-
review intersection.
Sorry,
I was like, did they talk about that? I was so confused.
sorry about that, no, I was thinking school.
But, yeah.
Check
The
out
wide
progress.
road widening project, yes.
And we got an RTCC meeting coming up too, so if I go there, I'll do another check on it with
All
them.
right, thank you.
Go with that as well.
All right, Ms. Winchester, do you have anything to report to the board tonight?
Sure. So I met with Mavis and Alan and Harley, and we went to the NCACC dinner. It was really fun, and Harley's right, they gave out a great goodie bag, so that made it worth my while for sure. And then I did get to go with Harley the other day, and we walked around the sheriff's department. That's very big, very interesting project, so it looks really cool.
We'll take another trip in a couple weeks.
Yeah, everything's up, yeah, it looks really good. So other than that, just been doing the usual around here. I was an honorary member of the finance team, trying to get things sorted out.
Big help.
I'm trying to be a help to other people, so been real busy these days, so that's all I got.
All right. Is anybody opposed? We do have a pretty lengthy closed session probably, so is anybody opposed?
I'll give y'all something for you for a second.
Yep, but can Mr. Barron, Dan Barron go in front of you real quick? He's.
Yeah, man.
Harley and I, well, we thought that we were gonna be up front and, Starley had worked with 56 families today out at Shepherd staff. And she just was absolutely killed. And I said, I'll take it if nothing else. And so what I was gonna do is I was gonna yield my 3 minutes to her, and she's gonna take 6 minutes to make this report. So if y'all bear with me, I'd appreciate it. And it's really just an update to you of something that we'd already sent out. We sent this is the 250th America anniversary or recognition time. The state has offered people, grant money. We're looking at a $10,000 grant. And we were supposedly the grant was due for the 3rd of May. But now they've said that they're gonna give an extension because so many people are dragging their feet. And so we have the extension, but that doesn't matter because we worked real hard. She pulled together a very small group of people. We brainstormed, talked to Chad Calhoun, talked to Mr. Cook here and said, let's go forward with this. And so briefly, what I'll do is I'll go through this real quickly, just as an update. And again, we had sent each member of the board and also all the members of the 250th Commission. But we bring you up to date. I am not Starley McDowell, the director of the Over Mountain Victory North Carolina State Trail. But I am with the Mitchell County Historical Society, and we're one of the partners in this effort. First of all is to thank Brandon and Harley for getting this commission started, because without the commission, we would not be able to have applied for this grant. And we feel very strongly that this is going to go through, and also to thank all the commissioners for voting for this, to make this happen. The title of the project that we have is Walk Through Mitchell County's History. The first part of it is going to be a figuratively walk, because the Historical Society, we're going to work with doing a whole series of displays, programs, and things like at the Rhododendron Festival, from starting the Rhododendron Festival through October, of a figurative walkthrough with radio spots, posting on Facebook and websites, and in the newspapers. Our immediate project will focus on the Over Mountain Victory Trail and the Battle of Kings Mountain. However, the overall focus is on the whole history of Mitchell County. We also believe that there's going to be another grant coming up pretty soon that we will be able to work toward. And if we don't, whether we get that or not, we are going to take Chad Calhoun's suggestion of a walkway in front of the middle school, which he had talked to us about before even this came up. And so whether it's going to be a public funding project or whether it's going to be a grant funded project, we're committing ourselves to making this happen as a literal walkthrough. The biggest thing as far as this project is concerned, the thing that I'm most excited about, and I think is going to be good, is that we're going to take 3 tour buses, real good buses, and we're going to take all the 8th graders. Now, again, we still need to negotiate with the principal of middle school, but Chad has said that this is something he would like to see happen, and we'll go forward with that. But to take them on the buses down to Kings Mountain this fall, and they will ride where the men walked, or the Over Mountain Victory Trail, then they will get to walk on the battlefield itself. And the neat thing about this is we've got kids from 2 rival schools that are going to be coming together. The older kids are going to be coming together for the first time. This could be a unification experience as well as a historical experience. That'll be about $6,000. $1,000 of it's going to go to support the Over Mountain Victory 50th anniversary, which is going to be the 28th of September. And we're going to work with the Treasures in the Pines Festival that's on the 28th, the 27th, 28th. And there will be a parade going through there. Then the $3,000 that's left out of that, we will go toward planning for that literal walk on historical walk. And the historical walk will be around a circular path around the area, and there will be information stations that go along telling the story of Mitchell County from the very first, from the Indians through the Spanish, African Americans, Melungeons, Scots, Irish, and European people, and telling the whole story of events and people that were involved in our history.
That's pretty quick.
Any questions?
Then what will the displays, what do you envision in front of them? I know maybe you talked about this a little bit, but the benefit of the board. What do you envision on that walk path, like around the school?
Right now, a similar kind of information station as we have put an order in for the jail fire, or for the memorial park, sorry, for the memorial park. And that is on its way. And it would be a section like this that would tell the story. It could be, but again, this is in the plan, that would be in the planning stages. Part of this $3,000 is to find someone who has actually done this kind of thing. And there are architects that work with recreational areas that we could get involved in that. So we don't have that. We don't know for sure what we're gonna do with that, just that it will be an information station and it'll be open to the students, it'll be open to the general public. So it'll be something, and I can see people going there on weekends and learning the history of it. Any other question? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
And also too, this does not come, this is $10,000 without a match. There's no matching involved.
Right, what you got for us?
I don't got just a little bit update on the project, the athletic project. Which we've had great news on the bids. I don't think any of us involved in this were expecting that lower bid for this project. The school, we got the 2.9, the school is talking about 9. Quite different. We're gonna have a good facility. But I want to bring up to date just a little bit on where we are in terms of the total project. Our project was originally estimated at a cost of 5.7 million. And that will include 4.7 of state capital infrastructure grant and $1 million that's going to be a split between the county and state parks on product things. On what we originally estimated this part of the project to be was about slightly over $4.5 million. It looks more like now that part's gonna be around 3.5 million. Maybe 3.6, I'm not sure about. But we're running several $100,000 below our estimates. But we now have spent or contracted to spend all of the state grants except $1,150,000. I estimate that probably for the whole project, we're gonna need another $1.5 million. We've got $1,150,000 of that, so we're not gonna need that million. I don't believe we are gonna need some money. And on the pilot grant, it's a 50-50 match, depending on how much you spend. If we're $300,000, then we would get $150,000 pilot grant, and match it to $150,000. So it may save some money there.
So you anticipate us using some of that order grant?
I'm just anticipating we can't get everything done with 4.7 match. That's just an estimate from in the distance, and it's not a ballpark estimate, it's maybe a cotton field estimate. But it's big, but I want y'all to have this and show you exactly. We have either spent or obligated as of today about $3.6 million.
Right with me.
I'll tell you, Lloyd has been integral on these projects. He's running this tight, he's running this on budget. He's making clear communication. I mean, just a very huge asset for the county when we're running these projects. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, if there was a person to say whose name needs to be on the side of that rec center, Lloyd might need to be on there because he's been doing such a great job.
I don't know.
He don't want his name known. He's been awesome. Lloyd's been a top notch special project.
We are making good progress. The architecture group you all chose is fantastic.
Yeah.
they are into this project because they have time to be into this project. And they're phone call away when they're walking through the door along the two. That was a big savings too, I can, because well, we had a $250,000 on this that fell through for other reasons. And now it's $185,000, which is a big savings. But we were looking at $300,000, I think, is the original estimate.
We talked about a responsible use of grant funding and money. That right there is case in point. I mean, running under budget it's awesome.
Thank you, Lloyd. Be careful driving home. All right, next item up is a closed session. Is it 443-318.11? A, B, C, which one? A, okay. Thank you. Yes, and so in this, I will invite everybody that's in the room already.
So.
Second.
It is 8:33.
I gotta think like a leader out now.